Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Humenic, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. With 35 ayes, 0 absent, or 35 present. How about that, Mr. Carpenter? Did that work? 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Moreno, where are you? Come lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues and guests, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Uh-oh. Approval of the journal. Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will yield.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're never sure which one of us you really mean. We are so alike. I move that the reading of the journal for Friday, February 9th be dispensed with and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 102, 122, 127. Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 82, 87, 104, 124, 126, and 135. Correctly revised, House Bill 1022 and 1031.
Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading and transmitted the revised statutes, House Bill 1071, 1139. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted the revised statutes, House Bill 1052, 1141, 1144. Amended as printed in the House Journal, February 8, 2018. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted the revised statutes, Senate Bill 88. Amended as printed in the House Journal, February 8, 2018. The House has adopted and returns herewith. Senate Joint Memorial 4.
Message from the Reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1071, 1139 without comment as amended, House Bill 1052, 1141, 1144 without comment as amended, Senate Bill 88.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for 3 different moments of personal privilege.
The motion before the body is to proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we'll proceed out of order. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my privilege this morning to recognize an individual who for many years honorably served the interests of the city and county of Denver and the state of Colorado. Donald Knight Bain is a 5th-generation Colorado native. He graduated from Yale College and later Harvard Law School, returned to Denver where he was a member of the firm and still is a member of the firm of Holm Robertson Owen, and served many years as the managing partner for the firm. He developed at the firm a reputation for honesty, integrity, and a keen legal mind. He's a fellow with the American College of Trial Lawyers. Many of you will recall that at the request of Denver business and community leaders, Mr. Bain was encouraged to and ran for mayor of Denver in 1987. He ran a brilliant campaign, remembered for its effective use of humor, outreach to the electorate, Unfortunately, Don lost by one of the narrowest margins in the history of Colorado municipal elections. But Don's commitment to service remained, and he served as the chair of the Colorado Republican Party in 1993 and 95. As many of you know, on this side of the aisle, those were years of tremendous success, and Don was a mentor of mine when I was Republican County Chair. Since that time, Don has been a director of numerous nonprofits, the Legal Aid Foundation of Colorado, the Denver Metro Chamber, and the Association of Yale Alumni, among others. Don has 3 sons, Stephen, Andrew, and Will. Stephen and Will are with us this morning, and 7 grandchildren. I consider it the greatest of privileges to recognize the service of my friend and my mentor, Donald Knight Bain, and wish to personally thank him for his many years of service and commitment. And we have here a flag that was flown over the United States Capitol in his honor, in addition to the tribute this morning. Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to recognize guests in just a moment.
Thank you, sir. Did you want to go ahead and do that, Senator Gardner, or?
Let me go ahead. We have, of course, Mr. Bain. Don, would you stand?
Let's give him a hand.
And with him this morning are his sons Stephen and Will. Our friend Mike Hess, former executive director of the Colorado Republican Party, and Kendall Sansing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kafalis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, sir. Colleagues, if I could please have your attention for about 2 minutes. Today, we welcome to the Senate chamber Dr. Tony Frank, the 14th president of Colorado State University and chancellor of the Colorado State University system. We also welcome Dr. Tim Motet, the 15th president of Colorado State University Pueblo, and Dr. Becky Takeda Tinker, the president of Colorado State University Global Campus. On February 11, 2018, Colorado State University celebrated 140 years of providing life-changing educational experiences to more than 200,000 living graduates. I'm one of them, so you can blame them. And today joins with Colorado State University Pueblo and the CSU Global Campus in honoring the history, strength, and service to Colorado of these 3 great universities. The Morrill Act of 1862 was signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln and gave each eligible state a gift of federal land to be used toward establishing an educational institution that would promote the, quote, liberal and practical education of the industrial classes, end quote. In 1870, 6 years before the Colorado Territory achieved statehood, Governor Edward McCook signed a territorial bill that used the Morrill Act to create the Agricultural College of Colorado, which would later become Colorado State University of Fort Collins. Today, these 3 campuses of the CSU system carry on the historic mission to provide access to an excellent college education to anyone with the talent and motivation to earn it. The CSU system is unlike any other university system in the nation, offering different learning environments, a range of educational opportunities, diverse student populations, and an emphasis on innovative, hands-on learning experiences, which attract more than 44,000 new and returning undergraduate and graduate scholars annually. This shared commitment to access, excellence, and service to Colorado is what we celebrate as we honor Colorado State University on Founders Day 2018. Today, we in the Senate join in congratulating the three great institutions comprising the Colorado State University system. Please be kind enough to join me in welcoming our guests. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you for listening.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. A brief moment of personal privilege as well, please.
Granted.
Thank you. I, too, want to add my congratulations and thanks for all from CSU who've come down. I'm not a graduate of there, but I have a son who's got a couple of degrees and a daughter who should be in class about right now. So it is an anchor. The Fort Collins campus, of course, which is the main part of the university system, is a real anchor to northern Colorado, and we're glad to have the institution there and glad to see that it's spread all over the state and indeed all over the globe.
Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President. I, too, would like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to say happy birthday to Colorado State University for 148 years. I am so honored to say that I have two grads who are proud Rams of Colorado State University. My daughter graduated with a dual degree in microbiology and biology, and my son also graduated from Colorado State University with a degree in rhetoric and ethnic studies. I can remember the most important decision I had to make was to decide where I would send my child to college. It's not easy when you release that kind of responsibility to an institution, and I can't tell you how proud I am for the work that they did in shaping the intellect and the character of my kids. I remember when I dropped them off, they said something like, "We are in this together." And because they were in it together with my children, they were able to graduate. So thank you, Colorado State University, for all you do and for all you will do for the students to come. Thank you so very much.
Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you so very much. I am here also to lay thanks to CSU and all that it's done. President Frank, thank you for bringing agriculture back to a #1 slot in this most marvelous university system. I would like to join and add my voice to celebrate CSU's Founders Day and 148 years of the contributions CSU has made to Colorado's agriculture, culture, and community. As the state's land-grant university, CSU has a special mission to serve the state's agriculture community, with extension offices serving every Colorado county and agricultural experiment stations around the state, including the Rogers Mesa Station, which is newly reopened thanks to the leadership and support of the Colorado General Assembly. CSU's research mission also includes one of the world's finest programs in veterinary medicine, with a special focus on animal cancer thanks to the leadership of Dr. Steve Withrow, and equine orthopedics thanks to the leadership of Dr. Wayne McRaith, both universities' distinguished professors. Their work to advance the frontiers of treatment of in equine athletes and other animals translates to advancements in human medicine that benefit us all. The CSU commitment to agriculture and ag education will now take on exciting new dimensions with the redevelopment of the National Western Center, where CSU will help to inspire new generations of children and learners to explore their future in agriculture. The Temple Grandin Equine Center in Fort Collins and at the National Western Center will expand the opportunity for equine-assisted therapy to meet the critical state needs. And on campus, Colorado State University continues to educate students who are skilled and prepared to lead our state's agricultural industries forward in the 21st century, recognizing their critical value and importance to Colorado. In recognition of CSU and its land-grant mission of teaching, research, and outreach that advances Colorado, I offer congratulations on CSU Founders Day 2018.
Senator Marble?
Mr. President, may I take this time to recognize a few of the great veterinarians that I had the privilege of working with back in the 1980s and 70s before the Equine Center was actually built, the big one on Drake. This was when it was still in the oval and still in its budding process, and I would ask a privilege to.
Go ahead.
All right. Some of those veterinarians, I don't know if you all will recognize these names, but it is something that we cannot go and speak about CSU without talking about Dr. Stashak, Dr. Scheidler, Dr. Trotter, and one of the greatest research scientists or research veterinarians to pioneer orthoscopic surgery. And Dr. McElraith, being not from the United States, but coming here and doing some of the most incredible work we have ever seen. I can attest to the fact that in traveling around and competing nationally in a professional sport, going to some of these other veterinary facilities, Texas A&M being one of them, couldn't compare to what CSU had established back in the 1980s and continue to pioneer and do such a great job in keeping us what I say is number one. Thank you.
Senator Martinez, you want to?
Thank you, Mr.
Please go ahead and give them a hand. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I am a graduate of CSU with both my undergrad and my master's degree. And what I would say is 148 years ago, those who started the university probably would be amazed at the depth and the expansion of the programs that are offered there for our young people here in Colorado. And CSU has become a very upstanding and important university in the research that's done in a variety of different areas, as well as maintaining that agriculture base so that we now have a place on the educational map in higher education across the country and around the world. So thank you so much. I'm very proud to be a CSU Ram.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I too want to just welcome CSU, but may I ask for a moment of personal privilege, Mr. President?
Granted.
Thank you very much. I want to change course just for a moment because I know that CSU really supports international studies as well, but today we are also joined by a group of Ukrainian legislators and aides, and they are studying democratic local legislature and policies. This is their first trip to America, and this is their first opportunity, and they are in Colorado in our state Senate. All are young activists, professionals who work in government. They want to learn techniques. So this is an opportunity for us to share with them some of the things that we do here in Colorado and ways to end corruption, how to bring services to the locals. The job titles include township head, assistant to a parliament head, regional development advisor, public monitoring, department head, and executive director at a center for public communication. So spend some time today, come over, let them know we're not corrupt, we're Colorado, and welcome them to the great state. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today is the Colorado Center for Independent Living Day at the Capitol, and we have many guests who have joined us. For over 40 years, the Colorado Centers for Independent Living have been a resource for Coloradans with disabilities who strive to lead self-sufficient lives in their communities. They're a bridge between those who implement policy and the people who are affected by those policies. The independent living philosophy says that every person, regardless of disability, has the potential and the right to exercise individual self-determination. We have some guests here today. They're seated on both this side of the chamber and that side of the chamber. If we could welcome them today, please, colleagues. And just a quick reminder, they are hosting a legislative lunch today at lunch at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center at noon today. Hope you can join us.
Thank you, Senator. Well, you don't have a parade of people to come follow you? Okay. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order once more for a moment of personal privilege.
Motion is to proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by Senator Lundberg. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I will be as brief as possible, but this seems to be the day of dignitaries. And we certainly have a dignified lady with us who is carrying the title of Miss Valentine for Loveland. This is, of course, an annual tradition that has been going on for decades. And I'm very happy to welcome Ava McQuaid here, who is a senior at Loveland High School. She's a class secretary for Student Council, member of the Honor Society, National Honor Society, serves as chairman of Youth Advisory Committee, as well as Transportation Advisory Board of the City of Loveland, serves on the Larimer County Prevention Partnership and the Tobacco No Program for Larimer County Health Department. As the 2013 Stars of Tomorrow show, Ava took first place of the middle school division, playing a piano solo, Whitewater Chopsticks. And by the way, that's a very nice piece. I know about that one. So she's joined with our parents, Paul and Mary McQuaid, her sister, Leva, and of course, Norma Jean and Chet Goodhart, their chaperones who are here year after year, and Reagan Esley with Loveland Chamber of Commerce. It is a privilege to have you here. Obviously, you have earned your credits in service to the community in so many ways. I look forward to see what will happen in years to come. Mr. President, thank you for giving me a moment to honor Miss Loveland Valentine for 2018.
Yes.
Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read the titles to all the bills on the third reading of bills, consent calendar.
Senate Bill 122 by Senator Martinez-Huminick and Representative McKean concerning clarifying that certain deputy sheriffs may serve without obtaining certification from the Peace Officers Standards and Training Board. Senate Bill 127 by Senator Martinez-Huminick and Representative Thurlow concerning the repeal of the Department of Revenue's requirement to publish an historical explanation of income tax rate modifications enacted in the state on every income tax return form. House Bill 1031 by Representative Melton and Ransom and Senators Cook and Jones concerning employer entry into the Fire and Police Pension Association defined benefit system. House Bill 1022 by Representative Size and Kraft Tharp and Senators John and Neville concerning a requirement that the Department of Revenue issue a request for information for an electronic sales and use tax simplification system.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the four bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, consisting of Senate Bills 122 and 127 and House Bills 1031 and 1022.
Motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 122 is adopted. Co-sponsors. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 127 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1031 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Kerr. Senator Todd. Senator Fenberg. Senator Field. Senator Kagan. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1022 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Crowder. Senator Marble. Senator Aguilar. Senator Zenzinger. Senator Moreno. Senator Fields. Senator Sonnenberg. Senator Smallwood. Senator Martinez-Humenick. Senator Tate. Senator Baumgardner. Senator Cook. Senator Gardner. Senator Merrifield. Senator Todd. Senator Kerr. Majority Leader Holbert. Senator Court. Senator Kafalis. Please add the President. Third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 102.
Senate Bill 102 by Senators Tate and Zenzinger and Representatives Hooten and Thurlow concerning the requirement for an odometer reading when a motor vehicle's identification number is physically verified.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 102 on third and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 102? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 102. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 102 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Crowder, Senator Court, Senator Todd, Senator Jones, Senator Kerr, General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Cook will take the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will come to order. Court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the titles to all the bills on second reading of bills consent calendar?
Senate Bill 91 by Senator Martinez-Humenick and Representative Thurlow concerning modernizing terminology in the Colorado Revised Statutes related to behavioral health. Senate Bill 92 by Senator Martinez-Humenick and Representative Hooten concerning updating statutory references to county departments of social services. Senate Bill 90 by Senator Zenzinger and Representative Hooten concerning modernization of language and statutory sections concerning rights of married women. Senate Bill 94 by Senator Martinez-Humenick and Representative Hooten concerning the repeal of a duplicate definitions section in Article 60 of Title 27 Colorado Revised Statutes. Senate Bill 95 by Senators Zenzinger, Martinez-Humenick, and Representative Hooten and McKean concerning the removal of statutory references to the marital status of parents of a child. Senate Bill 96 by Senator Martinez-Humenick and Representative Thurlow concerning modernizing statutory provisions that refer to terms related to mental retardation. Senate Bill 110 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning the repeal of the requirement that each state agency annually report the amount of federal money it received in the prior fiscal year. Senate Bill 111 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning the removal of an obsolete date in the law that designates state legal holidays. Senate Bill 121 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning certain expenses allowed to a state employee when the employee is required to change his or her place of residence in connection with a change in job duties.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There has been a request, members, to remove Senate Bills 110, 111, and 121, which are located at the top of page 2. Again, that's Senate Bills 110, 111, and 121. The bill sponsor has asked that those come off of the consent calendar. There is a very minor amendment on each one of those bills, so we will remove 110, 111, and 121 from the consent calendar and place them at the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar to follow Senate Bill 43. Mr. Chairman, I move the remaining bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, consisting of Senate Bill 91 and the committee report from Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 92 and the committee report from Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 90 and the committee report from the Judiciary Committee, Senate Bill 94 and the committee report from Judiciary, Senate Bill 95 and the Judiciary Committee report, Senate Bill 96 and the Judiciary Committee report.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? The motion for the body is the adoption of all the reports to the bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion for the body is the adoption of the bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. The bills on second reading consent calendar are adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee begs the lead report has had on consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 91 is amended, Senate Bill 92 is amended, Senate Bill 90 is amended, Senate Bill 94 is amended, Senate Bill 95 is amended, Senate Bill 96 is amended, passed on second read order and gross and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 110, Senate Bill 111, Senate Bill 121 removed from the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, placed at the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar for 2/12/18.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 91 is amended, Senate Bill 92 is amended, Senate Bill 90 is amended, Senate Bill 94 is amended, Senate Bill 95 is amended, Senate Bill 96 is amended. Passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 110, Senate Bill 111, Senate Bill 121, removed from the general order second reading of bills consent calendar and placed at the end of the general order second reading of bills calendar for 2/12/18. General order second reading of bills. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general order second reading of bills calendar.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order second reading of bills calendar. Senator Cook will take the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will come to order. The Coke rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 005?
Senate Bill 5 by Senator Donovan and Scott and Representative Roberts concerning economic assistance for rural communities experiencing certain significant economic events that led to substantial job loss in those communities, and in connection therewith authorizing the Department of Local Affairs to coordinate non-monetary assistance and award grant money to assist rural communities with job creation or retention.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move SB 18005 and the accompanying State Veterans and Military Affairs Report.
To the committee report. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill was amended in committee in two ways. One, to clarify the roles of the various directors of the departments, and secondly, we removed a portion of the bill that was a grant program.
Any further discussion on the committee report? Senator Scott. No. Any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the committee report from the State Veterans Military Affairs Committee. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, the simplest way to describe this bill is that when we have neighbors in our community that have an emergency, perhaps a family member falls ill. What do we all do as neighbors? We go to that person and say, hey, I can help you. Can I drive your kids to work? Can I take the dog for a walk? I come bearing a casserole, right? We have this natural response that when we see someone in need, we bring our resources and our help to them. We don't wait for that neighbor to say, hey, can you walk the dog for me? So this bill requests that the state behave in that same manner, that when we see a small community in distress, this flips the paradigm and says, the state, you need to take the resources that we have, non-monetary resources, and go to those small communities and help them recover when they experience significant job loss. And I certainly hope you can support SB 005 today.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just add that one of the things that we have on record is that 44 counties out of the 64 in Colorado are still rated as distressed. And we're trying to come up with ways for them to, as small communities, come up with ways that they can work with the state agencies to do a better job for eco-devo efforts that they have. This bill basically gives DOLA a nudge and says, show them your resources and let's work together to get things done. Thank you, and I'd appreciate an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 5? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 5. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 5 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 43?
Senate Bill 43 by Senator Grantham and Representative Lundin concerning the legal effects that the rejection by the Senate of an individual nominated by the governor for appointment to a state office have on the subsequent nomination or temporary appointment of the same individual to or holdover of the individual in the same state office.
Senate Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 43 at the sponsor's request to Tuesday, February 13th.
The motion for the body is to move Senate Bill 43 to Tuesday, February 13th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 43 will be moved to February 13th. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 110?
Senate Bill 110 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning the repeal of the requirement that each state agency annually report the amount of federal money it received in the prior fiscal year.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 110 and Amendment L002.
There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L002?
Amendment L002 to
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The amendment adds the bill number into the legislative declaration on line 3. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on L002? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L002. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and L002 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a statutory revision committee bill repealing obsolete requirements in statute.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 110? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 110. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and Senate Bill 110 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 111?
Senate Bill 111 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning the removal of an obsolete date in the law that designates state legal holidays.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 111 and Amendment L002.
To the amendment, Senator Tate. Oh, and will the clerk please read the amendment?
Amendment L002 to Senate Bill 111 by Senator Tate, amendment printed bill page 2, line 3, strike 18, substitute 18.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L002. The amendment adds the bill number to the legislative declaration.
Is there any further discussion on L002? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L002. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. L002 is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another statutory revision committee bill removing an obsolete provision to a holiday in statute.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 111? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 111. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate Bill 111 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Bill 121?
Senate Bill 121 by Senator Tate and Representative Arndt concerning certain expenses allowed to a state employee when the employee is required to change his or her place of residence in connection with a change in job duties.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 121 and Amendment L002.
Well, there is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L002?
Amendment L002 to Senate Bill 121.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Amendment L002. L002 additionally adds the bill number in the legislative declaration.
Is there any further discussion on L002? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L002. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. L002 is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is the third and final of the statutory revision committee bills today.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 121? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 121. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. 121 is adopted. Senate Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole Beggs Lead reports had under consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations in one. Senate Bill 5 is amended. Senate Bill 110 is amended. Senate Bill 111 as amended. Senate Bill 121 is amended. Passed in second read order and gross placed on the calendar for their reading and final passage. Senate Bill 43 laid over until 2/13/218 and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused. The committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 5 is amended. Senate Bill 110 is amended. Senate Bill 111 is amended. Senate Bill 121 is amended. Passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 43 laid over until 2/13/18 and retaining its place on the calendar. Reconsideration of Senate Bill 2. Assistant Majority Leader Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move for the reconsideration of Senate Bill 002.
The motion is for the reconsideration of Senate Bill 2. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted, and reconsideration is granted. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 2.
Senate Bill 2 by Senators Corman, Sonnenberg, and Representatives Becker, Kay, and Durang concerning the financing of broadband deployment.
Assistant Majority Leader Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 002.
The motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 2. Are there any no votes on Senate Bill 2? Senator Marble, Senator Lambert. Senator Lundberg. Senator Smallwood. With 31 ayes, 4 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 2 is readopted. Co-sponsors. If you're on, you're already on. If you're already on, you're on. You're on, you're on, you're on. You're on. Let's see. Did you want on? Please add Senator Tate as a co-sponsor. All right, signing of bills.
The President has signed Senate Joint Memorial 4.
Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to Revised Statutes House Bill 1142, 1033, amended as printed in the House Journal, February 9, 2018. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to Revised Statutes House Bill 1086, amended as printed in the House Journal, February 9, 2018, and amended on third reading as printed in the House Journal, February 12, 2018.
Announcements. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, if you have your calendar handy, I want to point out something that staff is going to work to correct. I believe they already have online. But if you look at page 2 of our calendar for tomorrow, Tuesday, February 13th, you'll notice that there are 2 blocks of general order second reading of bills. And thank you to the good senator from Vail for catching this morning. But the first block of bills should have been listed in the calendar as consent. They are on the consent calendar. It's just not properly reflected in the calendar. So that first block of bills, Senate Bill 103 through Senate Bill 129 at the top of page 3, are on the consent calendar. I believe if you look online, the calendar has been corrected to show that. And your calendar tomorrow will show those as consent. They were not removed and then put back on. It was just a matter of staff not listing that as consent. So just to clarify, 103 through 129 are on consent calendar, and then the general order second reading of bills calendar is 3 bills, 162, 148, and 22.
Senator Fields is next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce that the Arc of Aurora has joined us today on the Senate floor. The Arc of Aurora is an advocacy group that's dedicated to helping children and adults with disabilities. They do so with assisting them with housing, with job coaching, with transportation, and life skills. Please join me in welcoming them to the Senate floor.
Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Capital Development Committee, we will not be meeting tomorrow morning. It shows on your calendar we're meeting at 8 o'clock. We will not meet. We will meet again on Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, particularly those serving on the Finance Committee tomorrow for our afternoon meeting, Senate Bill 18137 will not be heard tomorrow. We're scheduling that on a later date.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Appropriations Committee, heads up Wednesday, 8:30, be there. We'll have the supplemental bills and a few other bills as well.
Senator Todd.
8:30 on Wednesday at our regular room, whatever that number is.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder, today is the Colorado Aerospace and Defense Caucus Lunch across the street. So come and join us and learn about cybersecurity. Thank you.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today in Senate business, we will not be taking action on Senate Bill 120. The action-only decision on Senate Bill 120 will be laid over until Wednesday.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. In State Affairs today, Senate Bill 150 will not be heard. It will be laid over until tomorrow, and we will have it on our calendar tomorrow upon adjournment. And then on another note, the Colorado Rural Electric Association is having their legislative reception tonight at the Brown Palace from 5:30 to 7:30. They would love to see you there.
Any other announcements? Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we will have bills to read over later today. You do not need to be here. You're welcome to join us if you wish. Mr. President, I move the Senate I move the Senate recess until 1:30 p.m. today.
Motion for the body is for the Senate to adjourn until 1:30. Recess. Recess. That's what I said, recess.
Recess.
The motion is for the Senate to recess until 1:30 p.m. today. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The aye has it. And we will be in recess.
Thank you.